my name is Robert Benkus. This is my Veltman flashing LED kit for my course project final. Let's begin. So I'll first start with the project description. Begin at the cost. The only cost that there really was my soldering kit, which I went out of my way to buy. Both the LED kit and the multimeter were actually provided by the school or by my professor. The features on this project are, it's really just two flashing LEDs which are adjustable by the two trimmers that are on the board. And the functions work, it's the same thing. It's the two LEDs which can be adjusted at various intervals. And the complexity of the circuit, it's really a beginner level circuit. There's really only 5 components. You have the trimmers, capacitors, resistors, LEDs, and the capacitors. And there were a few challenges with this, aside from my novice level soldering skills and really just understanding how circuits work. I did run into one problem with a specific component. I'll talk about that in a later slide. And then my parts list, again, those 5 main components I mentioned. We have resistors. We had two 1000 ohm or 1K ohm resistors. We had two 10K ohm resistors. I had two 220K ohm resistors, or the trimmers, the variable resistors. There was 2 transistors. There was also 2 10 microfarad electrolytic capacitors, which hold the charge. 2 LEDs, in this case they were red. A 9-volt battery as the power source. Something to connect, the battery connector to connect the battery to the circuit board, and the actual traced circuit board. This is the schematic actually that was provided by my professor. In the schematic, there are just a few things to explain. So we have our power source. This is the power is the orange wire and the ground is the black wire. Essentially what this schematic is explaining is that as the power goes through the circuit, it passes through the variable resistors as well as the 1K and 10K ohm resistors. The charge is actually built up in the capacitor, and then what that charge does is it releases, and as it releases, it is more or less set as set through a relay by the transistors T1 and T2, and then what you can do from there is you can adjust the timing. So as these transistors work as relays, you can adjust the variance or how frequently that relay is, and that's what produces the lights flashing. This is my before and after. That is the blank circuit board, and this is my finished product. This is the back side, and this is the front, or the top view. Building and debug challenges. My building process was pretty straightforward. All of the materials that were supplied on Blackboard made it pretty easy to do and didn't really prove much of a challenge. And my debug process, really it all went pretty smoothly. And as I explained earlier, I did have that one problem with the middle leg. As those middle legs of the variable or the trimmer, the variable resistor broke off, I did have to take some extra wires, solder those, and then solder the other side of the wire into the correct terminal. Other than that, it was pretty straightforward. Troubleshooting. Again, as I mentioned at first, my LEDs were not flashing as they should have, and the lights were dimming very quickly, and that was due to my variable resistor. I did think that it was because of the batteries not being charged or having any charge to them. That wasn't the case. I even tested new batteries. And again, as I finally came to the conclusion that I needed to readjust that middle leg of the trimmer. And lessons I learned, again, as I mentioned earlier, I came into this with novice level soldering skills. think this has taught me a lot about soldering and learning how to delicately apply it and not apply too much and not cross or create a short on any part of the circuit. And I did learn how more of these components work together. And again, as the problem I had, that biggest problem with the trimmer, I did learn how to overcome that. And my project was a success, and now I'll demonstrate it with my actual physical project here. This is my project. As I was describing, these are the trimmers. These two wires are acting as the third leg of the trimmer in place, and they are actually connected up where they should be. This is my 9-volt battery. Going to connect this properly. And as my very last part, I will demonstrate adjusting the timing between them. As you can see, this side has a very, very short relay. And now I can adjust this side. Now they both have very short relays. Again, I will go all the way to the other. They'll both be very long relays. And that was my course project. Thank you so much for watching.